Galactic Histories, Navigating Evidence. Consider this claim. Our solar system has a complex history involving civilizations on several planets and moons.
Says who? Where's the evidence?
The question of evidence is really a question about what counts as evidence. Over the last 300 years, scientists reduced what counts as evidence in exchange for certainty about the nature of reality. This reductionistic materialistic science was very successful in describing aspects of objective reality. However, it ignored a long and growing list of contradictions and anomalies. Much of the science of the last 300 years was based on classical physics.
It was very good at telling us how the planets were moving and how to get rockets to planets and moons.
Classical physics also contributed to a mechanistic view of reality within a mostly dead universe.
Yes, a universe with no purpose.
20th century quantum physics showed that consciousness, energy and matter were intimately linked. Inner subjective experiences and observed outer objective experiences are integrated at a fundamental level of reality. New 21st century approaches to studying reality include both subjective and objective experience. What counts as evidence has now expanded within many disciplines. Here's one meta-theory framework which values multiple disciplines and multiple perspectives. Objective reality is about objects, tools and behaviours. Interobjective reality is about systems, ecologies, networks and infrastructures. Intersubjective reality is about cultures, shared values and meanings. Subjective reality is about thoughts, feelings, memories and experiences. This meta-disciplinary understanding of reality is based on valid knowledge from multiple domains. Thus, evidence can come from multiple domains of research and analysis. So, evidence for civilizations on planets or moons within our solar system can come from multiple domains.
What kinds of evidence?
Here are some examples. For objects, tools and behaviours, we can look at space exploration and astrophysics. For systems and ecologies, we can look at exobiology or exopolitics. For cultures and shared meanings, we can look at legends and folklore or UFO disclosure culture. And for experiences, we can look at UFO experiencers and remote viewing. Researchers privileging objective reality may only value some evidence. Let's take a multidisciplinary look at Mars within a meta-theory framework.
Sounds good.
Here are some examples of exploring Mars across both subjective and objective domains. For nuts and bolts objective research, we have expeditions to Mars and astrophysics of Mars. For systems and ecologies explorations, we have exobiology and exopolitics of Mars. For explorations across cultures, we have Mars in myths and legends and Mars in UFO culture. For exploration of subjective experiences, we have memories of life on Mars and remote viewing of Mars. There are established ways to assess the validity of claims made in any of these domains. We also need to consider any anomalies and contradictions that may indicate misconceptions. Let's have a look at some data and research from each of these domains in turn, beginning with objective reality. We'll take an objective lens to Mars. Historically, there have been two main views of Mars: Mars as dead and moon-like, or Mars as terrestrial and Earth-like. In the 1960s, the dominant view of Mars was of a long-dead, cratered, dusty, moon-like body. Then we started getting data from Mars Mariner orbiters, 1965 to 72, Mars Viking landers and orbiters, 75 to 82, and meteorites that came from Mars. Some of this new data challenged the notion of a moon-like Mars. A new view of Mars began to emerge, where Mars had extensive oceans and rivers, Mars had a thicker atmosphere with oxygen, and Mars was capable of supporting life. Although highly contentious at first, it became clear that Mars was a terrestrial, Earth-like planet for a very long time. Some persistent anomalies and contradictions also emerged, the so-called face on Mars and pyramid obelisks and walls. On 25th of July 1976, Viking took a photo of what looked like a face. A pyramid and other artificial-looking structures were also imaged. Most scientists quickly dismissed these anomalies as optical illusions, pareidolia. This view still dominates mainstream media. However, after 45 years of careful analysis, these anomalies do not appear to be just simple illusions. They raise important questions and often provoke emotional responses. More on this later. Let's move to the domain of interobjective reality, systems and ecologies. Most scientists now agree that early Mars was terrestrial, with oceans and Earth-like geology. Organic molecules have been found in 4 billion-year-old Mars rock. It's now very likely that Mars did not lose all of its water by 3 billion years ago, as previously thought. So how long did life evolve on Mars? How complex were Martian ecosystems? And was Mars' evolution of life ahead of Earth's evolution? Over the last few decades, some persistent anomalies emerged. Evidence of water in young 180 million year meteorites from Mars, and evidence of nuclear explosions. Meteorite anomalies suggest that less than 1 billion years ago, Martian ecosystems still had life-sustaining water and oxygen. Radiation anomalies provide compelling evidence that a large nuclear device was detonated in the Martian atmosphere. This nuclear explosion probably happened millions of years ago and would have been catastrophic for the planet. This nuclear anomaly raises many questions and often provokes ridicule. More on this later.
This is beginning to sound ridiculous.
Okay, let's move to the domain of intersubjective reality, culture and shared meaning. Vimana, flying machines of the ancients. Some of Earth's oldest myths and legends contain unbelievable accounts of advanced technology. Stories from several ancient cultures describe craft that travelled through the air, underwater, into space, and between planets. Some of these craft were said to use high-energy weapons to destroy cities on Earth, in space, and on other planets. For generations, these stories made little sense and were thought to be pure fiction. We only had comparable experiences at the start of the aviation era, 1903, the atomic era, 1945, and the UFO disclosure era, 2001. The ancient Vedic literature presents a worldview that only begins to make sense today. Today, we have quantum theory, consciousness studies, and multidisciplinary meta-theory frameworks. Emergent cultural anomalies and contradictions. Human devolution to a more primitive cultures. Prehistoric battles in space and on Mars. There are consistent cultural anomalies and contradictions across ancient writings that suggest some cultures in prehistory were very advanced. Ancient battle stories from India, Persia, Sumer, China, Mexico and others involve Mars. Let's look through the lens of subjective reality, of thoughts and experiences. Remote viewing research involves mentally perceiving scenes from distant locations. Data obtained through remote viewing research describes war on Mars. Remote viewing research indicates Mars had oceans and a biodiverse ecosystem, had surface and underground architecture, was populated, and experienced war and cataclysmic change. Anomalies and contradictions in the data consistently indicate Mars had a large civilization in the distant past, advanced machinery and technology, and high-energy weapons. Remote viewers have reported artificial structures at the so-called face on Mars, as well as large and complex artificial structures above and below ground. So, a multidisciplinary view of Mars within a meta-theory framework has revealed some surprising consistencies. Research and analysis in the objective domain indicates that Mars was probably Earth-like and there are signs of occupation. Inter-objective research indicates Mars was Earth-like for a long time and there are signs of occupation and conflict. Research and analysis in the intersubjective domain shows that Mars had advanced technology and there are stories of conflict and cataclysm. And subjective research indicates that Mars had advanced technology and again there are stories of conflict and cataclysm.
Perhaps Mars had a civilization before Earth.
Each domain within this meta-theory framework contributes to an emerging understanding that Mars is more Earth-like than Moon-like, was capable of supporting complex life, once had a human-like population, has remnants of advanced architecture, experienced technologically advanced conflict, and there's evidence of cataclysmic change. As mentioned earlier, a meta-disciplinary understanding of reality is based on valid evidence from multiple domains. A meta-theory framework gives us more confidence in claims that can be validated across multiple disciplines.
I think this multidisciplinary integrative meta-theory approach would be useful for many of the complex challenges we face in the 21st century.
This presentation has explored some data from multiple domains for one planet in our solar system, Mars. This revealed data from different perspectives, suggesting a complex history involving at least one past civilization. A multidisciplinary exploration of other planets and moons in our solar system also suggests a long history of past civilizations.
And Earth probably has a much longer history than most realise.